Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Ina, and today I'm going to tell you why I sent 2 emails this morning, and only one person got both. One person in my whole audience got both emails, and I'm going to tell you why. So I wanted to get kind of into the mode of explaining a little bit what mailing list management actually is, because one of the first things that we do as entrepreneurs, as putting ourselves out there, is to really start to build an audience. What does it mean to build an audience? It's not just to get people aware of who we are, but it's about grouping them someplace where they can hear from us all the time, where they are engaged, where they can hear that message and share it with others. That place could be a podcast, right? People are there, listening to you all the time. That's a place for you to gather an audience, although that's a little bit fuzzier because they don't actually get to talk to each other through the app. A more hands-on way would be to do it through Facebook, a Facebook group, which I have. Right? The Trailblazing out of corporate life for high achievers and go-getters, that Facebook group, that's mine, and that's where where I get to interact with people, where I get to talk to you guys. There's also, obviously, you have your Instagram audience, and they get to interact with each other via the comments. You can also have a Facebook page. You can also just group them in your personal profile, like wherever it is you need to start building an audience there, a place where they can talk to each other and you can talk to them and they can talk to you. One of those places is your mailing list. So a little while ago, I did a whole session in my Facebook group about creating a freebie. And I really got technical and I told you, this is kind of how you do it. And recently, I did a training for a friend of mine. So if you want that training, that freebie, that a full 2-hour session on how to create a freebie, send me a message. Okay, you can email me at ina@inacoveney.com, but you have to spell Coveney right. It ends in EY. Or you can send me a personal message over Facebook if you're interested in seeing that how to create a freebie training. But the point of creating a freebie is to start creating a mailing list and to start gathering people there. Why is a mailing list so important? A lot of people will tell you that because of the nature of your mailing list, because it's so much more private, right? You're in people's inboxes right below their mom's, right below your mom's email, there's an email from Ina, right? You're gonna getting them in a very intimate place, right? Which is a little bit different than following someone on Instagram. You can follow anybody you want on Instagram, right? So it's a very low barrier for following if you're on Instagram. In this day and age now, people are very wary of giving you their private information. So for them to give you their email, right, it's a big deal. And when they do that, basically they've gone over a bigger obstacle than it is to follow you on Instagram, because it's very easy to follow and unfollow. Everything is right there in the feed, right? There's nothing else that you need to do. With your mailing list, it's people just think of that as something harder to get people to do. If you think of everything as kind of a, in levels that are of higher difficulty of what you're asking your audience to do, signing up for a mailing list is higher in the difficulty range than signing up to follow you on Instagram, right? So with that comes great responsibility. You want to make sure you're sending them information that they're going to want to hear, information that they care about, information they're going to feel compelled to open and read. So the average number of people that will open your email is 17%. What does that mean? That you need 100 people to get 17 to even open it. And opening the email doesn't mean reading it. There is no metric on any system on who has read your email versus who has opened your email. You only get the open metric and you get the click metric. So if it was compelling enough, you can see how many people have clicked on any links that you had in the email. That's the best it gets. That's as good as it gets, right? But that's it. So what was happening was I haven't really done a purge of my email in a long time. So basically, if you signed up for my mailing list at this point last year, but you started just kind of filtering them to the trash and you have not been even looking at them, you have not been reading them, you have not been clicking on them or anything, you're still on my mailing list. Now you guys can see how that's not something that I would want on my mailing list, right? If they don't want to get my emails, they can unsubscribe. Anybody can unsubscribe, right? And that's great. But sometimes it's just easier to filter messages to the trash rather than figuring out how to unsubscribe, which, by the way, the unsubscribe link is right at the bottom of every single one of my emails. So what happens is that my open rate goes down. So there's no way for me to know how I'm doing. Are my emails getting better? Are my emails really reaching people? Because my goal is to reach 100% of the people on my mailing list, right? And that should be your goal. My goal is not to reach 17%. So what was happening was I noticed my percentage rate was kind of going down. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I decided to do something that, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to do every month because it seems like a really cool way to find out, okay, who's sending me to the trash and who isn't. And by the way, this is not like a spiteful thing. I think people have full control over their inboxes. So do you, so do I, right? I get to do whatever I want with my inbox. So and this has happened before, that I've been receiving emails from somebody that I care about, but I haven't been reading them because I just kind of store them away for a rainy day. So that means that I haven't been opening them. So that person noticed that last July and they removed me from their list. That is their prerogative, and that will be your prerogative when you manage your list, to remove anybody you don't want there, to let people in. Just like it's my responsibility as a recipient of the email to keep an eye on my email. I don't get angry at people who send me emails because I have full control over it. I can unsubscribe at any time. So it's kind of like that. As a sender and as a recipient, you both have responsibility, right? There's no blame going back and forth. It's just everybody has responsibility for managing their job in this exchange. So something that I thought of this morning or last night that I thought was really cool is, you know what I'm going to do? Anybody who hasn't opened my emails in the last 30 days, and I could have gone back as far as 60 days. Anybody who hasn't opened my emails in the last 30 days, I'm going to send them an email. And I'm basically going to reintroduce myself. I'm going to say, hi, this is my name. These are some things that you might want to know about me, as if we were meeting each other at a cocktail hour. This is kind of what you would expect. These are the questions I usually get asked the first time people meet me. And then at the end, I say, by the way, you are in my mailing list, and in my mailing list, these are the things that I talk about. If it doesn't sound like you really care about that topic, you may have landed here by mistake. So please go ahead and unsubscribe. That's okay. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. Come back anytime. But if this is stuff that you care about listening more about, this is where you're going to find more information. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can go to my podcast, you can go to all these places, and I have gold information out there for you, for anybody who doesn't want to look forward to retirement in order to have the life they want. It's for the people who want to get that freedom of time and choice and do whatever they want, whenever they want, while they're still young and vibrant and still have the joie de vivre, right? They don't have to wait for retirement to get their retirement money so that they can go to a tropical island. You can go to a tropical island now. How do you make that happen? By taking control of your life. So that's the kind of stuff that I talk about here. If that's stuff that interests you, then stick around. If email is not the right way to contact you, subscribe to the Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join the Facebook group, subscribe to the podcast, all of those things. So I sent 2 emails. And I wanted to share them with you because they were for different audiences. So this is kind of where I go into teaching mode, right? And I tell you, it's okay to segment your list. In fact, it's encouraged that you segment your list. And within, the first few hours of having sent the email, the people who receive the email, who have been opening my emails for the past 30 days, it shot up to, that 17% average. Now it's at 19%. And that makes me happy because I'm like, oh, great. The people who are actually engaged, now I can see what my real average is for email opens. And I can measure that and I can track that. And I can see, okay, which subject lines work better than others, right? I can do all of that analysis and give you stuff that you want and give you stuff that you need. And then the other email that I sent was for people who have not opened an email from me in the past 30 days. And for that one, I have to actually click on it to see the metric because it's so small. Only one person has opened it. Okay, out of hundreds of people, only one person has opened it. So this is how that one person ended up with both emails. Okay, because, if you think about it, that should be two completely discrete groups, right? The people who have opened my emails in the past 30 days and the people who haven't. Well, it turns out that last night when I finished writing this email and I scheduled it, something must have happened that I didn't actually schedule it for it to go out. It was supposed to go out, the one that for people who have checked my emails, who have opened my emails for the past 30 days, that was supposed to go out at 6:45 in the morning. And then the one for people who have not read my emails, that one was going to go out at 7 o'clock. Turns out that one of them didn't deliver. Actually, the one with people who have checked my emails, that one didn't deliver. So I had to deliver them later on, later in the day, we're talking 9:30. So when I sent the first email to the people who have not been reading my emails, one person opened it. And as soon as they opened it, they became a part of the group of people who have opened my emails. So they ended up getting that second one. But guess what that tells me about that person? It tells me that, you know what? All it took was to make something a little bit more personal for them, right? And that's great information for me to have. And now I know that they're there, right? That they are not sending me to the trash automatically. But what about all the other hundreds of people who haven't even opened the email? Even though it was a really personal subject line, it's a really personal topic, they have not opened it. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to do this on an ongoing basis, to tell you the truth, but I thought it was a really cool experiment. I would love to send an email out like this every month to people who have not opened the emails in the past 30 days. So I can start to really engage them more in conversation and see what's happening. And if they're still not getting it after 60 days or 90 days, then I can remove them from the list. Because I'm not going after a 17,000 people mailing list for the sake of bragging rights, right? I want to reach people that need to hear this message. I want to talk to that person who goes to work every day and they want to do something else with their life. They don't know how. They have no idea what that looks like. They have no idea what the topic is, but they want to do something else with their life. I want to talk to that person who already started their side business and all they need is just a kick in the butt. They just need a push to make this bigger. They need the motivation to think about this in long term so that they can quit their job and do this full time. I want to talk to those people. Those are my people. I want to talk to them and tell them this is how you do it, right? So if they're not opening my emails, then what's the point? So I can just remove them and, they can come see me through the Facebook group or whatever. So by the way, if you're on that list, if you have not been opening my emails, but you want to continue to get them, all it takes is to open them once a month. And that way I won't purge you out of the list. So what I wanted to do was to share with you the content of each one of these emails. And then we can talk about why the content was different and what's in it. Because the one that I sent to people who have not opened emails, guys, I actually really like that email. I wish I could send it to everybody, because it was a really a getting to know me email that I have things that I have not shared publicly in the past. Why don't we start with that one? So this is basically my introduction email to people who have not opened my emails in the last 30 days, okay? Who might not even remember why they joined my list. Why don't we start there? So the subject line was, Dear, and then your name, okay? Dear Marieli. Dear Marieli, this is the email. My name is Ina. It's pronounced Ina, E-E-N-A, like Regina. What you're about to read has never been made public because even though I have spent thousands of hours on video, I don't truly talk about myself a lot. And the reason I don't talk about myself is because just like you and the rest of the world, I have insecurities. It shocks some people to find out that I have an almost paralyzing fear of rejection. Want to know what's really going on inside my head when I talk about myself? It goes something like this. The more I tell you about me, the more ammunition I'm giving you to disagree with something and therefore reject me. Messed up, right? But I have to get over it in order to be on video every day. Want to hear my secret? I trained myself to develop a very short attention span, so I forget things quickly. Ever seen the movie 50 First Dates? Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore? That's my life. Also, there's a lot of screaming F you to no one in particular when I'm alone in my car. Not sure what you do to shake off rejection, or if you even have that same fear, but that seems to work for me. If we were to meet face to face, you'd probably ask me, where am I really from? I know it's not a politically correct question nowadays, but that's okay. I have an accent, so I understand the curiosity. I just don't like to be put in a box. So I usually answer, I'm from Venezuela. I've been in the US for 22 years, and the accent is not going anywhere anytime soon. They seem to relax after that. If you ever hear me say that line, please don't call me out on it. Just let me get my bit done and move on, or I'll be too self-conscious to use that line again, and it will throw me off for the next 3 years while I think of something else to say in that situation. Oh man, I'm taking a huge risk telling you this. Consider deleting it many times. I guess you're in the circle of trust now. That's a fact, guys. That was risky to say it out loud. Fun fact, my name is not really Ina. Oh, what? Fun fact, my name is not really Ina. Most people who meet me in person guess that I am from Eastern European descent. They can't place my accent right away, and the name Ina trips up a Russian connection. In fact, the name Ina is short for Andreina, which is a very popular Venezuelan name. Around the year of my birth, there was a soap opera on TV named Andreina. I guess that accounts for why there were so many Andreinas in my grade at school. But please, don't ask me about the situation in Venezuela. Although I'm very well versed in what's going on in my home country and the tragedy that has affected my family directly for 20 years, we've all been displaced, it's just not a light topic for me. It makes me very upset when I talk about it. So it warms my heart to know that you want to know if my family is safe and that you're concerned for us. And I appreciate you so much for that. So let me answer some questions that I get most frequently here. Is my family okay? Most of them have left. And you guys know here in the group and the podcast, most of them have left to Chile. So I still visit Chile. But I still have some aunts and uncles and extended family there. Where are my parents? Here in Massachusetts. Have I been back? Last time, it was in 2013 for a wedding. I did not bring my husband and son with me, and things have gotten much worse since then. What is it like? Whatever you imagine it's like, it's 1,000,000 times worse. So if you want to know more about Venezuela, I left the link to the Venezuelan Crisis Wikipedia page in the email. And thank you so much for caring about this topic. But the most shocking thing people notice when they first meet me is how short I really am. I have always been the shortest in the class, so there is no joke or pun I haven't heard, and yet people still try to surprise me. I'm a pretty good sport, though. After all, I react with the same awe when I meet someone who is particularly tall. But you'd be surprised at the liberties people take when they find you amusingly small. Here's a tip. Never pat a grown woman in the head. And the fact that I have to say that out loud tells you how many times it's happened. Other than that, being short is just part of my charm, and I'm proud to represent my fun-sized constituents. Are you my constituents? When we meet in person, you may notice that I can get quiet. You wouldn't imagine it, right? When we meet in person, you may notice that I can get quiet, especially at first, but not because I'm shy. The reason is that I'm very aware of how I come off when my natural enthusiasm takes over, and my personality has the potential to take up a lot of space, even though I have a small frame. I can be very friendly and genuinely interested in what makes you you. But I have learned over the years that introverts don't like to be put on the spot. And I hate making you feel uncomfortable. So I tend to hide in the background at first until I understand the personalities in the room. If someone ends up being overly outgoing, I let them play the alpha role, and it may delay my coming out of my shell. I tend to avoid turf wars. You guys know what that's like? If you guys are outgoing, you will know what I'm talking about. Running into another outgoing person, I let them have the stage. I don't need to get into that. The best way to get me out of my shell is to smile at me and to offer your attention when I'm telling a story. No interruptions, no getting distracted, just give me your attention. Nothing feels better than knowing I'm adding to a conversation and that you're getting something out of it. At the first sign that you are enjoying what I'm saying, watch me take off and do enough entertaining for the both of us. And I put a GIF in there in the email of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you guys have seen that show, and she's like, oh, entertaining at the party. I have the potential to be that person. But you really gotta let me know that that's okay. The fact that you're reading this far tells me one thing about you. That you enjoy finding out what's inside people's heads. And me too. I wish I could read a similar email about you. And I'm telling you guys in the podcast and on the Facebook group, and right here I said it in the email. But if you want to do a real self-indulgent exercise, go ahead and write this same email about you and send it to me. My email address is ina@inacoveney.com. I'm looking forward to reading it. And if you're reading this far, can you imagine somebody actually reading this whole thing and getting to the bottom? If you're reading this far, you need to know that this mailing list is the place to be if you've decided to pursue freedom from a full-time job in your lifetime. I was in corporate for 15 years and I'm never going back to a traditional job. I get to do whatever I want and work with people I want to work with and keep learning a ton about business in the process. Every day is exciting. If that's what you want for yourself, then my emails, my Facebook group, my videos on YouTube, and my podcast are going to give you all the steps and mindset shifts you need to make it work. If that's not you, you probably landed here by mistake. No harm, no foul. And there's an unsubscribe button at the bottom of every email. No hard feelings. Come back anytime. The fun part is to see that having a side business has become the norm. Everyone has the word founder or CEO on the resume now, and it's a great place to start if you're looking to replace your salary. Our generation is no longer waiting for retirement to have the life they want, and it's amazing to see a swelling movement form. You are not alone, and resources are plentiful. Stick around, and I'll show you more. I also have a podcast, a YouTube channel, if these work better for you. And you rock for reading all the way through. I'm super excited to read your version of this email. What a fun way to get to know each other. Happy New Year, Marieli. Talk to you soon. Hugs and kisses, Ina. P.S. I also teach a class locally in the greater Boston area. I founded podcastingclassesinboston.com and I post all my local appearances there. Diane, what did you guys think? So I really like that email. I kind of want to send it to everybody. The thing is that there's a lot of people in my list that already know me, that already know who I am. But this was a really unique way to kind of tell you some things that I don't normally talk about, that you will only find out about me if you meet me in person. It was a really fun email to write, and I may do something similar like that for anybody who hasn't opened my emails in the last 30 days every month. And the way I can start to figure out, okay, who should I remove from the list because they're not getting anything out of it and I'm not interested in just swelling numbers artificially, right? But yeah, people can come back anytime. There's no hard feelings there. So what do you guys think about that? I'd love to hear what you have to say. So actually, if you're listening to the podcast of this, I'd love to hear your reaction to this. All you have to do is take a snapshot of your screen saying that you're listening to this episode, post it on an Instagram story. You can tag me. I'm at Ina Coveney with an EY at the end. And just write up what your thoughts were, and that way I can see them. You can also DM me on Instagram, all of that good stuff. So let me know. And people who are watching on Facebook, what did you think about that letter? So, and the other email that I sent was for people who have been opening my emails, and this one has a 20% open rate, right? It's already above the average because it's only people who are actually engaged. So for this email, what I did was, I'm gonna confess. You guys want to hear a confession? You guys are insiders now. Here's the deal. I just finished reading a book. It's called Contagious. In fact, I loved it so much that I sent it to my Be Found founding members. They got it in my welcome packet because the book is amazing. I'm gonna put the link in here, right here in the Facebook group. I'll also put it in the description of the podcast episode. And just so you guys know, it is an Amazon affiliate link. You don't have to use it, but it helps me out when you do. So I just finished listen to this book, because I love the audiobooks. And every time that I got an idea, I would pause it and record a voice note of myself saying like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. So the book Contagious, what it talks about is ways to make ideas spread. Why do ideas take off and spread? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to use one of the teachings from that book. One of the teachings is called triggers. It says that when something in your environment triggers to think about that thing, you're more likely to share something interesting about that thing. For example, he credits triggers with the reason why the song Friday by Rebecca Black, why it went viral. Even though it was a silly song, it was a silly video, she was 13 years old, she wasn't even like a big deal, she didn't have a huge following. How did that song take off? And he attributes that to the fact that it was about Friday. And it was so silly that whenever it was Friday, basically like once a week, the views for that video would go up because it was related to Friday. So it's like having something that triggers your thinking about it, right? So I decided for this second email to people who have been opening my emails, you know what? I want to see if I can trigger a certain thought or motivation based on something that happens to them all the time. So this is what I decided to do. I sat down, I'm like, okay, what used to happen to me when I was at work that would make me want to run home and work on my side business? And I've talked about this before, in fact. And it's the fact that whenever I would meet with my boss, I would just look at them up and down and all around. I would imagine myself in their shoes, and I would realize that I don't want their life. I don't want to be them in 5 years. So what am I doing here, right? That would make me run home and be like, I need to be doing something else, something different this year, right? So I decided to turn that into an exercise. And this is the email that went out to people who have opened my emails in the past 30 days. Are you guys ready? The subject line was called, on your next meeting with your boss, do this. So, hey Cristobal, right? Hey Cristobal, it's Monday Fun Day, and I got a cool exercise for you. I used to do this all the time whenever I had a meeting with my boss at work, and it always gave me the kick in the butt I needed to run home and work on my side business as hard as I could. Worked like a charm every single time. Ready? Here's how it goes. Do you have a meeting with your boss set up in the next week? If you do, make sure the meeting takes place at their desk, in their office, in their cubicle, whatever that is. Be prepared for the meeting as always. Carry it on as usual. And when it's your boss's turn to speak during the meeting, just watch them. Detail their face. Look at their pores. Look at their wrinkles. Look at their makeup. Guess their age if you don't already know it. When do they arrive at work? At what time do they leave? Who's their boss? Who are their peers? Remember where they live and start calculating their commute. Do they drive an hour? Do they take the subway? How long have they held this position? What did they do before they had this job. What do you think is their next move? Now that you've put yourself in your boss's skin, now imagine that it is 5 years down the line and you are in their shoes. How does that make you feel? Are you proud and happy to have landed the fancy office? Or are you mortified at the fact that you let it happen? Then hold on to that feeling, go back to your desk, and compose an email. In the email, describe exactly how it feels right now to be them in 5 years. Send that email to yourself or to your best friend. You can also send it to me, ina@inacoveney.com. And from this point on, every time you see your boss, remember this exercise. If you do not want to be your boss in 5 years, it's time to start working on your very own corporate exit strategy. I've recorded a ton of videos to tell you how to do that, but I think this one was a pretty good one and a practical one. Check it out below. And I put the video for episode 73 of the podcast, which was best way to start your online business. You can also find it on Facebook, and you can also find it by going to inacoveney.com/73 to see the video version of it. You can also subscribe to the podcast and listen to episode 73. That's below the video in the email. What did you think? Cool, right? Have a great week. Hugs and kisses, Ina. P.S. I'm going live in my Facebook group today, like I do every Monday, to record this week's podcast episode. Want to watch it live? It's in the group around noon. Not a member of the group yet? Join the Facebook group here. The end. So, what do you guys think about that one? If that one hits you, if you're going to try this, please take a snapshot of this podcast, put it on Instagram, tag me, and tell me what you thought. Tell me if you tried it. If you have a meeting with your boss this afternoon, or if you're listening to this tomorrow morning, in the morning, do that and let me know what happens. Send me an email, post it on Instagram, tell me what happened. I'm super curious. So the point of this podcast episode is to show you some things that happen behind the scenes, right? Just now, there is somebody that I purchased her program, right? I purchased her program last year. I'm still in her membership program, but I'm getting emails about her launch. It's almost like she didn't decide to segment the list and say, well, people who have already purchased it don't need to get the launch sequence. But you know what? Sometimes I do that too, because there are things in my launch sequence that even though somebody has already purchased my product, I include things in the sequence that they could learn from. So I'm very aware that there are people out there, like a lot of you out there, who are studying what I do and how I do it. And I know that because I do that with other people all the time. And I'm telling you all the time to study people who do that thing that you like to do, right? So I know there's people watching me and doing this. So I want you guys to see what these emails look like. And I want you to study them. I want you to see when they go out, at which point, what happens here, what happens then. So I know that's happening. So yeah, so managing your email list, you'll figure it out once you have it. I'm just going to leave you with this one thing, because I know that as you're starting out, your mailing list is going to be small. I'm talking 7 people, 14 people, 20 people, right? Remember that the smaller your audience, the more opportunity you have to really talk to them. So don't treat a 20 people list the way you would treat a 20,000 people list. With a 20,000 people list, you clearly cannot reach out to each individual person and ask them what's going on, why did they join. But with a 20 people list, you totally can. So go ahead and do that, because as you're building your business, that's what's going to be important, to reach out to people, to talk to them personally. Okay? So do that. That's the best advice that I'm going to give you in this podcast episode, in this video. Okay? So that's it. That's basically what I had for you guys out there. If you would like to talk more about this or give me some feedback about this, leave a review on iTunes about the podcast. Come on the Facebook group and talk to me over there. I'm very easy to find. I'm the only Ina Coveney in the world, as long as you spell it right. So send me a message. Tell me if this hit a chord with you. I would love to know. Okay? And if you're on the Facebook group, give me your biggest takeaway from this entire episode right here, because I want to read and respond to it. All right, that's it. That's all I had for you this wonderful week of the new year. Subscribe to get more videos. If you would like to join my mailing list, all you have to do is go to inacoveney.com/join, but you have to spell Coveney right. Everybody together, it ends in E-Y. Okay, I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your week. Bye. Yay, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Click right here and check out the podcast Trailblazing Out of Corporate Life. I'll see you there.